Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Hey parents, welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. We are marching through March with marriage. We're doing a marriage march.
I know, I feel like I should sing the song, but I can't remember what it is.
This is when the saints go marching in?
That's right.
Okay, maybe not.
You sing it,
No,
better.
no, I'm not going to sing it either. But I will tell you that next week we have today's podcast is the next to last one.
Right.
And we're about to introduce some very special guests.
I know, we're so excited. So hurry up and tell them about next week so we can talk about this week.
We have some special guests as well, Dave and Ashley Willis with a Naked Marriage podcast. And you're going to love that podcast. As you can see, we've already done it. So, but we're going to have them on, and they have written the book, Naked Marriage, and you want to stay around for that too. But today...
Yes, let's talk about today.
Today, we have some very special guests. We have my parents.
Woohoo! Beth and Larry Manning. Woo!
And... their claim to fame. They've
got many, but we're just going to talk about the one.
They don't have their own Naked Marriage podcast, but they do. But they have been married for 67 years. I mean, can you want to hear that again? 67 years. I mean, they've been married long before I was born.
Yes,
that's a good thing, right?
So I can't say that.
That's
right.
Yes. That's right. But no, they've had they got married in 1954, right?
Right.
So come on.
February 6th, right?
Right.
Was that his Friday or Saturday?
Saturday night.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were talking. So our kids have been super excited about this podcast.
Right.
And so,
right.
Well,
it all even came about because we would gather me and Grandad on a kitchen table, and our kids would just ask him the most random questions because it's almost like they lived in a whole nother lifetime ago because things were so very different. And so that's what we just want to talk about.
So what made you, let's just start out and get a little history. So what made you guys decide to get married? Tell us a little bit about how this marriage came about, this 67-year marriage.
Well, let's talk about how we met first.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, talk about that.
We lived in a little town in Fannin County named Leonard. And we went to the same high school, and at the end of my 9th grade and Larry's 10th, 11th grade, whatever, he was 2 years ahead of me, we had a date. And we went together the whole next year. And he graduated, and I was going into 11th grade. And in 11th grade at our school, you couldn't date anybody outside of school. So I started going with another boy, and he went with some other people. And in 12th grade, the same thing. And then I went off to college, and he went off to work in West Texas and California. You have anything you want to say for that part?
No, I just hit the road.
Well, and you went to what's now Texas Women's University.
Well, I went to East Texas State first, and then
Okay.
I transferred to what we called TSCW, TESSI, Texas State College for Women.
Right.
And so this is leading up to how we got back together. Who came in first? You came in to town, and I was at home, and somebody told us that, and so we got back together. I already had an engagement ring to another guy.
Yeah, you left a guy at the altar, didn't you? Isn't that right?
Well, I sent his ring back to his mother.
Yeah.
And but anyway, we got back together back in about fall of that year, and started going together again. And I was going to graduate in February, and he was working in Brownwood, Texas, and I had to decide what I was going to do. My mother had about 3 weeks to get ready for a big church wedding for February the 6th. And
Because you were getting your degree in teaching. You could go teach anywhere. So he was working in Brownwood. So you guys got married in Leonard, right?
Right, at the local Baptist church.
Right.
We didn't send invitations out, but the church was full. Tell them, Larry, what you have said.
The whole town turned out.
They did see it.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to go back to you, Larry, and ask, though, did you propose or did y'all just talk it?
We just talked about it.
We just talked. Well, we'll see what happened. is she graduated, and she had a job through the employment deal for the college out in New Mexico or somewhere else, Houston and everything, and she had one in Brownwood.
Oh.
To a big department store there, a wholesale department store and work in the office. And so she came down to Brownwood and stayed with my uncle and aunt, and then that was the way
In order to get the job, not
Yeah.
to live.
To get the job.
To get the job.
And is that when y'all had the conversation?
Yeah, and then we decided that she would probably take the job in Brownwood. But we couldn't live down there, one in one apartment and one in another one.
'Cause you couldn't afford it.
First thing, we couldn't afford it in
Right.
the first place. And you didn't live together then at all
Before you got married.
before you got married.
Right.
So we decided, well, we might as well go ahead and get married. We'd been talking about it anyway. Well, then she went home and told her mother, just pulled it right straight out of the top of the air, that we was getting married in 3 weeks.
And what did grandmother say? My grandmother said
Well,
about that.
I don't know.
I don't remember
Well,
either.
I don't know.
you had been around, so it's not like you were a stranger. Y'all had dated for a while.
Oh,
She
yeah,
was
we were-
fine with it. It was
She
just
was
probably
my
stressed
she
about.
was my Sunday school teacher, and when we went to church.
Right.
Oh, you gotta love that.
And I had to, even then, when we were dating, I had to pick her up at church on Sunday night because she played the piano up there to take her home. I had to come to church.
Gotcha.
And
How much was that wedding ring?
Yeah.
That wedding ring, the girls were laughing about that. How much did you have to pay for your
well,
wedding?
I think somewhere in the neighborhood, after Brownwood up there, I got it at a jewelry down there. I think it was $175.
And we paid it out after
And
we
we
married.
paid it out after we got married.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So we were in debt before we got married.
$10 a month.
And then tell us about your wedding dress.
Well, I told Mother I'd just get married in a suit and so on, but she decided she would make the dress. So Mother made my wedding dress from scratch, and it was not a long, didn't have a train, but it was a white wedding dress.
And so you went to work in Brownwood. So you didn't start out being a teacher. You were in the office.
I went to work for a hardware store, wholesale retail, for 6 months. And there was a man that worked there that was on the school board out at the school at Early, Texas. And he told me about the job. And so my first job was in the fall of 1954. And I taught there 3 years, business education, what they don't teach much anymore of typing, shorthand, and accounting.
Yep.
We called it bookkeeping back then.
Right. And you were you working on the road then, Dad, or were you?
I was working at a rock crushing plant.
Yeah, so Dad's always been in the
Right.
construction industry,
Yeah.
and Mom has been a teacher. And they were laughing too because tell us what your wage was.
your income.
How much money you made when you first got married.
He was making 90 cents an hour. Well, I did too at the hardware store, but my teaching pay first year was $28.05 a year, $188 take home pay
Yeah.
A year?
a year.
And I
Well,
remember
$188 a month.
A month.
Take home
Take
pay.
home pay.
That's on a
Okay.
12-month basis.
right.
But
And
we
so-
rented an apartment for $38.50 a month. And then the first house we bought, our payment was $49.
Well, I remember that was so. I was the first house you bought in Denton or
Oh,
or-
in
No, I was
Brownwood.
in
Brownwood.
No, you weren't born until we lived in Denton.
Right, exactly.
And so add children. Like what? So how was, yeah.
Well, I'd like to say another thing too about when you first get married. It's very important how you conduct yourself. It's important that the people that you begin to associate with, and we always went to the church and found people in our Sunday school class, and we would have parties or get-togethers or so on with people from church. And also, we were the youngest couple of the couples that worked where Larry worked, and they kind of took us in under their wing and helped us the first year or two and supported us when we first married.
Well, that's true because y'all had moved away from family.
We didn't
Yeah,
know.
we didn't have
You had-
anybody.
you had
Well,
a
my
youth-
uncle,
We
I was
were-
working for my uncle. He was superintendent of this.
Larry had an
Custom
aunt
plant.
down there and two cousins, but we were only children, except Larry had a brother killed in World War II, but basically we were only children. And so we were 4 hours away from where our parents lived.
Well, and so isn't that interesting that, you know, you guys got married in 54, we got married in 1991. Same rules, you know, what we would tell parents is get involved in your local church,
Yeah,
make sure,
find
you
a
know,
community
yeah,
like-minded.
Yeah, and what we would call, you guys would call Sunday school classes, we called small groups,
Right.
which now, you know, there's different names for them, but the principle's still the same. Get your family involved in a local church and go deep with that local church and watch what God does with that. So and then what they're going to tell you is I have an older brother and older sister. So the kids started
John's
coming.
the baby of
Yeah,
the family.
Yep. So y'all got married in
Was
54.
he a surprise?
No,
Oh, he wasn't. He was planned.
he's planned.
But he was planned to be a girl.
No, David was supposed to be a girl.
Oh, I thought that he was a girl because when he was born,
Well-
the doctor said the plumbing's wrong.
Well, but he could have been a girl and so on, but I wasn't as disappointed as David because I wanted a girl and a boy.
So explanations. I have my older sister Diane, and then I have an older brother David. So she wanted to. You wanted, I guess, after Diane, you wanted.
I wanted another girl too.
You want another girl.
A sister.
You wanted, but we only born a girl. Period.
But,
Yeah.
but we wanted David to be a girl too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be Sherry.
Instead of David.
I
So-
didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. So, so as the kids come, you know, so you're working, both of you are working, you're teaching
I didn't
school.
at first.
You didn't at first. So when did you stay, you stayed at home at first?
When almost the time that Diane was born, I had to quit teaching because I had a medical situation. And then I didn't go back to work until 1961 when David was 18 months old. But in all of my working career, I have always been very fortunate to have people who took care of the children. I was very fortunate, very lucky that I had these people. And in Santa Ana, where I taught 2 years, there was a lady that would come to my house and pick them up, and then I would pick them up at her house. It worked out really well,
Right.
really well. And Larry was out of town quite a bit while we lived in Santa Ana. And then we moved to Odessa, and I didn't work out there.
Well, and then 1964, so 10 years into your marriage, you moved to Denton.
And we've been here 56 years
Yeah, so you've been here all this time, but then Dad also traveled
during that
because he
time.
came to work for a construction company, but my dad laid asphalt for a living, and so you were gone during the week a lot, right?
Right.
When you were little.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, we had Ms. Matthews, who kept you for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, and that was a good experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for Diane and David, I had
What I remember of it.
I had met friends that their kids went to the same school that my kids went to, and so it worked out that they could pick them up from school while I worked.
So how did you balance the needs, Mom, of being, you were a mom, you were a wife, Dad was gone. I mean, we have a lot of moms that have those issues. You know,
We have a lot of
not as much
single
right now.
moms that are divorced
But not as much with the COVID crisis. A lot of people aren't traveling as much for business. But
Well, it was hard on her.
and why do you say that?
Well, it just was because I was gone every week, five days a week.
Wow.
Sometimes the Saturday, I'd have to wrap things up and then drive 200 or 300 miles in from,
And then
a
you were
job.
out on Sunday or Monday.
and then turn around Sunday afternoon and
Well, and there was no cell phone, so how did you stay connected?
Well, we had home phones.
And so did you call every night, like from a hotel?
No.
No, but you know, in your defense, Dad, I think if I remember right, and this may be, I think the story's right, but you moved to Denton to take this job thinking you were going to get the local job, but then the guy he was going to retire.
Yeah.
The guy doing local, but he never retired. Wasn't that it?
Well, yeah, he had a guy that I kind of took a place here in town, and then the guy that was road foreman out on the road, he quit, and so there was another guy that was qualified too for this. So we were supposed to take time about.
To be home more.
Yeah, one job, one there. Well, I got all the about.
You got the road.
I got hung.
So, Mom, how did you deal with that? I mean, you were home and
Well, I've
three young kids.
Yeah, they were little.
I've been asked that by different people over the years. And the way I handled Larry being out of town is that when he left on Sunday afternoon, he wasn't part of our family anymore. And so no matter what happened, unless it was an emergency, I made the decisions. We didn't talk every day a lot. I was in charge,
right,
so to speak, and made the decisions. And as I said, I had lots of friend support here in Denton. Over the years, it's just been great.
You remember Kenneth Coleman?
Sure.
His wife was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Was a block.
Miss Ponder carried you to school.
Yeah.
Mary Plumley carried David, took care of David, and so on. It's so important of who your friends are and your support system.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You created a network
Oh, yes.
of people, and you did it with
Yes.
them.
And-
And did y'all all go to church together, or was it a neighborhood thing, or
Well,
a school thing? Like, how did you?
We didn't go to church with hardly anybody.
We
that-
did lots of things with church people.
yeah, I know.
But she's talking about the network. Some
Yeah.
of the people
like,
were.
Well-
like the Colemans and the Ponders and stuff like that.
It
Right.
it
we
all
did not go to church.
They
with
had.
them.
Wow.
it depended on what activity was going on in your life. I was talking about helping with school,
Right.
pick up and take home and all of that. In the sports activities, there were parents that would help each other. But one thing about being a teacher, I didn't make all that much money back then, but the hours fitted in with my
They were
family.
constant.
Right.
And I was off most of the holidays that the kids were off, and I was off in the summer. And that helped tremendously for me to deal and work with activities. But as far as how I handled it while Larry was gone and all the time and so on, I tried to be very organized. And my days were just planned. Now, sometimes things happen, but most of the time they were planned as to what I was going to do, when I was going to do it, how I was going to do it. And I'll have to say, the kids cooperated quite a bit and didn't.
We were great kids.
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
we? We were-
Practically perfect, I'm sure.
well, you talk about your life at home. How was it?
Oh, it was awesome. It was-
Well, no, there were good and bad.
no, no,
Well,
no. I
you
mean,
had- yeah.
I mean, we had our share of conflicts as siblings, and the times were different then in terms of the way you would handle things today versus then, and that we would be left at home a little bit more, or go over to a friend's house. I mean, a lot of things that we had a lot of kids in the neighborhood that we played with, and it was kind of a pretty open deal. We were gone a lot during the day. We come home at
Right, even if it was during the summer, we'd get on our bikes and we'd leave and be gone all day.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can remember. I mean, this freaks parents out today, but we used to get on our bikes, me and my buddy Scott, and we used to ride from our house up to the Denton Center on our bikes, and we'd be gone all day, and it was that's just the way it was then. So it was a little bit more free, but also, we had our share of conflicts. I mean, I just remember David and I fighting a lot.
Your big brother.
Yes, but we also played football and baseball together out in the yard too.
Yeah.
And too, in that, when Donald was young, he had that rheumatoid arthritis deal. That was
When I was like 2 or 3,
a bad deal right there.
A sickness. How did your marriage handle that? Like, how did y'all?
Well, it was
or just even more than just that situation, but Dad being gone, and then eventually, how old was I? I mean, how many years was it when you started coming? when you started being able to be home? You probably were on the road, 10 years?
Well, yeah.
I don't remember, to be perfectly frank.
But
Yeah.
once how did y'all handle all the things, how did you handle your marriage and all that? And the conflicts that came up. You said you kind of ran the show with the kids, and
When he was gone,
Right.
yeah. Well, I made this statement one time when I was at work, and one of the guys in there, I said something about that Larry and I really didn't fuss, that we got along, and that we just didn't have, didn't bicker and all that. And he said, I can't believe that. He said, bickering and not getting along and then making up is the fun of it all. He just thought that was so boring that we didn't disagree. But I was telling your kids yesterday when we were discussing some of this, I don't know if you agree or not, but we haven't really had a lot of knockdown drag-out, so to speak. And I told them that there's more than one way of doing something. And just because I thought that something was wrong and Larry did it a different way didn't mean that he couldn't go ahead and do it his way and not mine. I needed to accept the difference of opinion.
Right.
And this morning in the discussion in church, one of the people brought up selfishness and how a lot of younger couples and beginning parents have not matured enough, and they don't make good decisions. They make selfish decisions because they want it his or her way.
Right. And it's really so
That's
much
good.
of its preference is what I'm hearing you say, is that there might be, this is a good way to do it and that's a good way to do it, but just accepting the way.
Right.
And you know, even in our Crazy Cool
good.
Family stuff, we call that celebrating the differences. Because, you know, God made, we rarely see a husband and a wife that are the same.
Right.
They're always different. Well, guess what? God made people that way. And so what you're saying is, instead of trying to impose your will upon him or him imposing his
Or
will
getting
upon...
mad about it. I
Yeah,
mean, I
getting
think that's
mad, yeah.
huge.
Right.
Not creating a
Yeah.
conflict. But I love that you just allowed Larry to do it how he wanted to.
Yeah, I was telling that to Madeline yesterday, and you have 3 married
We have 3
girls. Well, do they get along okay? What do you hear from them?
Well, I mean...
I think that you hit on it. That's their biggest issue is...
They do have issues?
Well, their biggest issue is that right there, the differences. Seeing it, I want it done this way and you're doing it this way, you know, or I like it like this, but you like it like this. I think that you're right when you say that. I mean, and Donna and I too, we're in a 27-year-old marriage and we still...
Oh, maybe even 29.
Oh, yeah, 29, almost 30. How long have we been? The years just keep coming. But I think that's our biggest thing, is seeing it differently. And so I admire and value guys for giving each other enough space and room and honor and
So, Dad,
to be different.
What's your
and
perspective
allow it.
on that? When y'all had conflict, what happened?
Well, that's just it. I didn't believe in arguing. I didn't believe in arguing out on a job. The guys that worked for me knew, I'll say this way, who was boss, right or wrong. If I was wrong, I'd take the butt eating for it.
Right.
You might want to cancel that.
No. Are you kidding me? That's hilarious. And we talk about his quotes all the time. No, that is on the air forever.
And I got a bunch of them.
because you stood up and you were...
Well, yeah, and I stood up to the company. The man I worked for, the old man, Mr. Jago, he was not an easy man to work for. He was fair. If you hired out to him and you said you could do X number of jobs that way,
Yeah.
if you do them, that was fine.
You're not comparing him to Mom, are you?
I was about to say, Larry, is that how you treated your marriage too?
No.
Okay,
no.
good.
But that's just the way it was.
And so what was that? So I'm curious, because we have men have a lot of these issues. So I want to go somewhere with this.
All right.
So you were in authority at your job. You ran these jobs and you had to answer to Mr. Jago. And so then you came home and it's not quite the same at home.
Don't make any difference.
And so how did you handle it when you came in to Mom and y'all had conflict?
I left that job on the road.
And so how was it different when you came home?
Well,
I think a lot of guys would want to hear
cooled
this.
down and just blended in with the family. Because I knew she had it under control.
Yeah. And so it was
I didn't-
different though when, I think a lot of guys struggle with that. If at work it's one way and then you come home and in your marriage it's another way. It's more of a.
Well, and you want it to be the same way. Is
Yeah,
that right?
I mean,
Like you want to be in charge. You
and
want to
I'd like-
boss the woman and the kids around.
I'd like people to do what I say, just like they do at work. It'd be great if that
At
happened.
home, she more or less took care of things.
And you were good with that.
That's right.
And you wanted her to. Good.
That's right. When we got married, I told her, I said, I will not touch the finance.
Oh, nice.
From here on out, because I was not a money manager.
And she was teaching bookkeeping, so she
Yeah.
could do that. That's good.
Because I had to borrow money to get married on. And but that's the way it was. And with like I say, I left that job out there in West Texas when I come home.
And really, you kind of became a different person.
Well, yeah, I
A
did.
little bit
yeah,
different because
yeah, totally.
Do you remember that type home life when he
When
would come
Dad
in
wasn't
and
there.
all that?
You know what? I don't remember a lot being younger. So I mean, but what I remember a lot is that I remember Dad coming in dirty. Because he's been out on the road. I remember, one of the things I say about Dad a lot is he's the hardest working man I've ever met in my life. And now that's also, I remember you working hard a lot too, because you would come home from school and then you would do the laundry and you would cook the dinner and
clean
you
the
would
house,
cook
go to the grocery
Yeah,
store.
exactly.
That's the story I hear about them is their pantry was always full. All the neighborhood kids came and ate out of your pantry
yeah.
because you had good stuff.
That's true.
But like what's beautiful about Mimi is that she bought everything with coupons. I mean,
Still do.
and still does. And so she's taken she's taken their finances and exploded them because she's thrifty and she's coupon cutter.
It's a game with her.
Oh, and she wins. She's
Oh, she
winning
does.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well-
but I want you to speak into this too, because I want to go here. I think that a lot of he said you kind of divided roles, and you said it too. You had the house and you had the finances and things like that. Did you feel like that worked for you too, to be able to do it that way?
I wanted to do it.
Because he'd spend all the money,
Right or
wouldn't he?
wrong, John still
Well, because
ball.
she wasn't here.
No, I grew up with a mother and daddy, and especially my daddy. We didn't have a lot of money. He was a farmer, and we didn't have a lot, but we spent money for things that we needed and few extras. But I learned at a very early age that you watched how you spent your money and so on, and that carried over, especially as I was a business major. And I taught this many times. I taught juniors and seniors in high school, and in some of the classes I taught them about income tax, I taught them about budgeting and so on. It was just part of me, that, and I hear from them today that they still do some of those things that I taught. I don't think that's happening much today.
I think you're right.
But there are several phases in a marriage life. First of all, you get married, and you have to work out how you're going to spend your money and so on. And I'll tell one example of what really changed my mind in early marriage. Back then, TVs were becoming very popular. And in Brownwood, you had to have a 90-foot antenna to get one station out of Abilene. But
And then I'd have a rotating.
but I decided that we needed a TV, and so I thought, what a good surprise! And I went down and bought this TV to be paid out and brought it home, and he didn't like it one bit. And Larry said, well, if you're going to buy something like that, said, I'd like to be a part of it.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So my point is, be careful how you spend money for different
And
things
do
at
it
different
together.
times.
Do it
But I
together.
watched the television. Well, I like
Once we got it.
Don't
So
get me wrong.
But once you kind of get settled in with budgeting and all of that, then you start having children, and that's a different phase of your life until they graduate from high school, and then the empty nest starts, and they go to college, but yet they're still part of the family. But then when they get married, they're completely gone except for visits and so on. And then for about 35 years now, we've had the empty nest of living just the two of us.
Right.
And every phase is different.
well, and we're about to land this plane a little bit, but I want to finish the finances by just commending you guys that So when I graduated from college, my salary was more than my parents made in their normal salary. But my mom, through her financial genius, put all 3 kids through college with no student debt and paid every bill. And it's just, anyway.
And y'all all had a car.
Yes.
And you all did any activity
not
you
a new
wanted
car.
to. But that's good.
Yeah, we
That's
all,
good.
and there's lots of stories I could tell you about cars, but as we were going through high school, but just to commend you on that parents, that just taking care of your money is so important and so good.
That's like Diane. We bought her first car. You remember that little old Ford?
Oh, the
Fairlane Ford. It was 8 or 9 years old then, but you'd have thought that was a Cadillac.
Because she appreciated it.
I mean, she appreciated it, and she hauled these boys around. She just took a bunch off of
Well, I'd like to compliment my children and so on, because they realized that we didn't have a lot of money, and they had to make decisions on, am I going to buy this, or am I going to buy this, or what. But it's like I gave them $10 a week, $2 a day to buy lunch, and Donald would come home and make a bologna sandwich out of the refrigerator and save
the money.
Save his
Exactly.
But this is the type of thing that we did. We managed.
Right.
We managed.
Yeah. So speaking of that, as we kind of land this plane here, if is there anything you'd like to, any last wisdom? So we got many married couples all over the world really listening to this podcast, and so any last advice you'd give them?
Yeah. What made you last 67 years? That's what
Well, we just couldn't go anywhere else. Didn't want to go anywhere else.
I love it. Love it.
I have one here. To what's you throwing a good one away? Trade her in for a new model.
Yeah, and have to retrain her and all. Yeah,
everything like that, and we just kind of fit each other, and we got to a point in life that we just went down the road.
What do you think, Mom?
Well, as I said, there are all these different phases of marriage, and you treat the different areas a different way. And if I had to sum it all up, I would say that I've said it before here: organization, budgeting, the friends that you make, the church activities that you are involved in. You're this morning, one of the guys was telling me to be sure and tell the parents to include God and Jesus in their young lives by singing the church song, like Every Day with Jesus, and the prayer, Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep.
Wow.
And so it's so important that you start them out at a very young age if you want God included in your life.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that those things are very, very important for a happy marriage.
Right. So really, just thank you guys so much for coming on with us. Suzanne, do you have any? And before I let you do that, one of the things we were giving advice, and one of the things I feel like is just a theme of your marriage and your parenting to our family has been sacrifice, and that you guys
and loyalty too. I mean, you guys are just crazy loyal to each other and to your family, to us.
But as I look out back through the years, I don't remember you guys doing a lot for yourselves, and that you worked hard.
Didn't until we got y'all through college.
Exactly, and so and that's just something that it's you made a tremendous sacrifice, and so I would say that's another advice to give parents is that sacrificing for your kids is worth it, and it's something that we all can do more of.
Well, when they're so stressed, they can realize from what we've said that there is a time that comes later when you have time for yourself.
Right.
And for 35 years, I guess now, we've traveled and done a lot of things because it's just us.
Right.
Because we could afford it.
Right.
Yeah, that's so good. Do you hear that, mamas out there with 2-year-olds that are driving you crazy? It will pass. You will get on the other side of it. They will graduate college. They will be independent, and then you can travel, and you will have the funds to be able to do it.
Well,
it is coming. It's on the horizon.
And you still have your grandkids and great-grandkids and so on. That's such a joy to you, but you're not responsible for them.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. And really just it's a chance for me publicly to just say thank you for being my mom and dad. You guys did a great job with all three of us, and somehow we all turned out pretty good, I guess, in so many ways.
I agree.
Because of all of those things that you said, though, community and being involved in church and loving Jesus.
And now there's 11 grandkids and starting to be more great grandkids.
And 4 greats.
Yep.
Yeah.
So super excited about that, and just really grateful to you guys for your sacrifice, and that we didn't, even though I realized that we didn't have a lot of money growing up, we never wanted for anything. We never really, and we never wanted for.
And we never did without a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and not just in the money piece, but in, I always remember you guys at my ball games. I always remember you guys supporting me, taking me places, and just doing the things that are.
You're driving the bus on the ski trip.
That's right, and just being parents, and whether it be 1954 or today, a lot of these things are the same. Getting in a small group at church, just sacrificing, doing the things that make families successful. So super excited you guys got on, and we are.
Thank you for asking us.
Yeah, and as we move through,
we appreciate y'all.
Well, and as we move through the marriage march, we are coming to the end of it. This has been a great podcast. Don't forget our next one next week with Dave and Ashley Willis. And go back. Suzanne and I did the first one. We've had Molly and we've had Madeline and I don't even get my kids' names right.
Macy
we've had,
and Madeline.
Yeah. So go listen to all of them because they've been awesome. And we're excited that you are with us. Anything else, Suzanne?
No, I just want to wrap up by saying that you guys can do it too. 67 years, that's your goal.
That's right.
We've put it out before you. That's where we're headed. How many years are we in now? We're kind of halfway there.
We're almost to 30 in November.
Well, there's a lot of people, if you think about it, that we know that have been married as long as we have.
Oh, see, that's beautiful.
We were 20 and 22 when we got married.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's the goal, parents.
I'd been all over the country
Yeah.
before we got married.
I think it's over.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. We are.
thought it was over.
This is so good.
It's about to be over.
It's
Don's
about
going to say
good.
a key phrase and then it's over.
We are excited you're with us, parents, and so you're going to make it 67 years too. It's a crazy world we live in, but we're going to have crazy marriages.
Yes, it's in stages. You take it in stages. If you don't like this stage, just wait because the next one's coming and you'll like it better.
So I'll give you that ending phrase. Go be crazy, parents. CrazyCoolFamily.com.